Welcome to Speed Bump Garage. My name is Kent, and this is my 1960 Ford Starliner.
The most exciting Ford of a lifetime, the Starliner.
I purchased this car 2 weeks ago at an online auction, sight unseen, and it is a true barn find. This vehicle has been in a barn since 1982, and it is a one owner. Here's a picture of where I picked it up. It was sitting in the barn that's right behind the car. A few things I've learned about the Starliner. So the Starliner was actually the highest trim level of the Ford Galaxie in 1960. But the weird thing is they took the Galaxie name completely off the car. So the only badging on this whole car is Starliner. Really poor timing, if I'm being honest. I didn't need another car right now, but it was local. It was 80 miles from me. It was an online auction. I maybe paid a little more than I should have, but if we can get this old girl back on the road, it's gonna make an awesome car. Let's dig into it, see what we're working with. We do have this trim piece that's missing right here inside the car. You can see it in the front seat there, but we are missing the rocker trim. It does not have that rocker trim on either side. So a couple options, we'll either have to pull those trim clips or come up with some other pieces of rocker trim. We've got some damage here on this rear quarter. I think we can straighten that out. I really think this car is gonna clean up well, so I don't want to do any paint work on it if we don't have to. Check these little stars out on it. Each side has 3 stars. Really bubble back glass. I really like the front end of it. I think the grille looks really awesome with the quad headlights. We do have a full set of the poverty caps for it. Obviously we need a couple tires. If you're familiar with the Galaxies, I think this is a 60. I think a 59 Galaxie has like an afterburner, big round tail light. Looks like an afterburner on a jet. A totally new look for 60. Pretty interesting. I like the big flat wings on it. This Starliner emblem here actually pivots, and that's how you open the trunk. But we're missing the top part of our S, and I've been on the hunt for that. Have not had any luck yet. I actually thought about having my son Jack 3D print a new one and painting it gold. So we may be into that, or hopefully maybe I can just come up with one. Now, I got this car in a little town called Waukomis, Oklahoma. And you can see right here, it has been in Waukomis its whole life. Now, we do have this side glass here is broken, and I have not looked for one of those yet, but it's not, it has the full frame around it since it's a hard top, so I'm not super worried about it. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but that material in the center section there has some gold metallic in it, and it looks really neat in the sunlight. Obviously this driver's seat's really tore up. I really hope we can find something similar to have that look back in there. It is a 3-speed on the tree, and then it has overdrive in 3rd gear that's cable operated. The sale ad for this car did say ran when parked, but overdrive wasn't working. Now looking at this overdrive, it's looking like maybe, hopefully it was a cable issue. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I've actually never driven one of these, especially with a cable operated overdrive. From my understanding, you put the car in 3rd on the highway, pull the cable operated, and then it bumps you into overdrive. Hopefully we can get it running and figure it out. Let's look here. When does our oil need changed? That looks like a 74. July 19th, 1974, this thing had an oil change and they put 30 weight in it. So it would have been a 14-year-old car at that point, and that's the last tag in it. It's crazy that that's not chewed up. While we're here with our VIN plate, let's go ahead and decode that VIN. See for sure what all options this has. Oh, we have another oil change sticker here. Can't really read that one. It's saying the second digit, the first digit is a 0 for 1960. The second digit is where it was assembled, and it is a D, which is Dallas, Texas. Third and fourth digit is the body style. We have a 5.3, which is a 2-door Starliner, and it is listed under Galaxie. Fifth digit is the engine. We've got a W for a 292 V8. and that is the smaller of the V8s that were offered in the Starliner. Looking into Ford's advertisement for this car, the big dog that they were advertising was the 352 V8, which I think might be a FE style Ford. I'm not sure. This is a Y block, a 292 Y block. But something with that 352 I saw in their advertisement, it was one of Ford's first V8s where they offered more than 1 horsepower per cubic inch. Sadly, we don't have that one. And it looks like everything after that's just the production numbers. Really surprised there's no transmission options on here, but I was reading, I think the 3-speed on the column was the only thing available in this car, so maybe that's why there's no more information on here. We got a 292 V8 Starliner. I do know this car does have that Y-block V8 in there because I already started on it without you guys as soon as I got this car home. Sadly, that old 292 is tight. Now, I did buy this car sight unseen, which is always a risk. It was only 80 miles away, but I just did not get a chance to go look at it. And one of the things when you buy it sight unseen, sometimes the engine is stuck, which is exactly what happened on this one. Now, it is complete. Everything's there. For some reason, the radiator has been taken out of it, or at least unbolted. Which is weird because he said it was running when parked, but the hoses are unhooked, or the hose is unhooked, and it doesn't even have a lower hose. Something I thought was interesting was this little reservoir, the coolant reservoir on the engine, so that's where you fill your radiator. There's no fill hole on the radiator. I did scope the cylinders after I pulled the plugs. They didn't look terrible. First thing I did was I stuck a funnel in each cylinder and I sprayed Kroil in it, probably about 1.5 cans of Kroil for 2-3 days and let it sit. And now my help showed up. Yeah. So it's set with Kroil in it, and we were trying with a breaker bar, tried from the generator, just wouldn't move. So we pulled the funnels out of it and I started using an oil can and just kind of filling it up with a transmission fluid acetone mix, and it's probably set for 5-6 days. I think the next thing we're gonna do is pull the valve covers off. I don't know what the valve train looks like in a Y block, but I'm hoping we can pull the rocker arm assembly off and get whatever pressure that's putting on the rotating force of this engine off, and maybe we can really put some force on it. Yeah. I really don't want to tear this engine up, so we're just gonna keep thinking optimistically, and we're gonna get it. I do think we better vacuum off the intake before we pull a valve cover, so let's see what's under here. Well, that is a pretty cool air cleaner. It moves. Not too bad. Yeah. Pretty dang clean, honestly. The side of it even looks pretty clean. This is kind of an interesting setup on this side. I believe what this tube here is pulling heat off of this manifold for the choke, where it's sucking hot air to relax the spring in the choke, which initially would open your choke flap. What I don't see is how that comes off. It's kind of in the way of our valve cover. Oh, I guess it just pulls right off there. It's just a little tube. Looks like it's probably a 1/2 inch wrench. And then we've got a vacuum line here going from our manifold to the vacuum advance on the distributor, which another thing to mention, look at this Ford. It's got a distributor in the back. Jack thinks we can leave the vacuum line hooked up, so he's just taking the choke tube off.
Yeah.
Show it to us. I'm sneaking a peek. Looks pretty good. Even though this looks pretty clean, I think we're gonna go ahead and pull the rocker assemblies off of it just to keep from tearing anything up, and then we can see if any of these valves are stuck. Some of them are definitely partway open. I saw that valve move. All right, how do the springs look today? Are they all looking the same height?
Yeah.
So that's good. That means they all went closed after I pulled the rocker arm pressure off of them.
What's this little hose deal?
I think that would be like your oil return. I think that's where your oil comes in on this side and then it returns it after it flows through all of them.
Uh-oh.
It's just one of the push rods was stuck. Yeah, see how that's just a return, open return for your oil. So your oil is coming in, I'm assuming right there. See how that one's got a hole in it?
Yeah.
So that hole is supplying oil to this whole rod, and then it's returning through that.
Nothing?
No. She is tight for sure. Well, the old 292 has soaked for over a week. We pulled all the valve train components off that we could. Still just won't budge. Got back on the crank pulley, even got a hold of it. So now we're gonna have to break out a pipe wrench, but not just any old pipe wrench, not this 24-inch pipe wrench. We're gonna hit it with 36 inches of leverage. That's 3 feet. We're not gonna give the little 292 much of a choice. It's either gonna move or it's gonna break, and I'm ready for that to happen. I hope we can break it free. I absolutely hate when this pipe wrench comes out because, as you can imagine, the only time you need 3 foot of leverage on something, it's usually messed up really bad or something's broken. We're gonna try it. Let's get it on there, see if she wants to move. Sadly, we lost Jack, so whether we fail or succeed, he's gonna miss it either way. Oh, is it gonna get big enough? We got this thing opened up to the limit. You gotta be real careful with this because you can break a balancer pretty easy with this big old pipe wrench. Oh, it moved. Oh, I think that might be all she's got. Oh, it's going. Sometimes you just need 3 foot of leverage. Oh, don't want to go any further. That's not a good sign. Let's try going back the other way. There she moves. I know it's moving the pistons because I can hear it pushing the transmission fluid that I've got it filled up with out the spark plug holes. Well, the big pipe wrench got us to a pretty abrupt stop in each direction, which makes me think maybe we've got something majorly wrong mechanically. I think I'll keep working it back and forth just to see if we can accidentally get something to come free, but things aren't looking very promising for this little Y block. False alarm, guys. I got a full revolution out of it. You can see I got a little dot on our timing mark there. And look at this. Such a beautiful sight. We got her freed up. Now I do still have all the plugs out of it, so it's kind of turning over fairly easy. And there's our timing mark again. There's hope that this thing will run. It doesn't feel the greatest turning over. It's a little rough, but let's hope that clears up. Now, I'm gonna go put this 36 away and hope that I don't see it again anytime soon. While we're sitting here with all these valves closed, I'm gonna try to sneak a little lubricant down. I'm just hope them come back to life. Just for fun, I'm gonna hit these valves with a mallet just to see if I can tell if they're moving or not. We should be able to tell by the sound. I feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole. Those all sound pretty good. Same thing on this side. You can almost hear that valve seating back off. Uh-oh. That one is stuck. Hear the difference? That's not good. They all sound good except that one. Maybe we can get it to come free. Whoops. Still don't sound great. I do think we got it to move. We got her playing a different tune anyway. You guys hear it? I think we got her freed up at least a little more. We'll keep soaking it until we put it together and just keep a close eye on it. It's definitely moving now.
Bongo solo!
On that note, I think we'll go ahead and try to soak all those valve guides one more time and just let it set overnight. We'll be back on the Starliner tomorrow. Day 2 of the Starliner. We moved it inside today because it is much colder out. I threw one of these spare tires off my Mercury Comet on there and got it rolling. It rolls pretty decent. None of the wheels are locked up, fortunately. I came out and just kind of got a jump start on getting everything cleaned up this morning. Cleaned all of our gasket surfaces for our valve covers up. Jack power washed our valve covers for us, but I did scope all these cylinders and they looked pretty good. I was going to show you, you can really see a defined line where this engine was sitting. If you see that line there, the piston is just lower than where it was when it was stuck, so you can really see a defined line of where it got parked. Nothing really alarming from all the bore scope footage I took. Next thing up, we need to put the valve train back on it. I've continued to lubricate the valves. They all seem to be functioning decent, but we will throw the rocker arms back on it and roll it by hand and make sure they're all operating. I don't know if I can get you guys a shot of them, but this thing has just the tiniest lifters. All the way at the end of the shot there is the lifter. I believe it's a solid lifter, just under ½ of an inch or right at ½ of an inch. They are tiny in diameter. I'll try to Google a set of them right now and throw a picture of them up on the screen. Like I said, this is my first Y block. I was not expecting to see lifters that small. What are you working on?
Nothing, I just found this.
Hey, that's the mirror out of the green truck. Anyway, I'm gonna finish wiping these push rods down. We'll continue on with getting the valve train back together. Okay, see if we can get all these push rods lined up. That side's on. I'm gonna go ahead and try to oil everything down because I got it pretty dry cleaning it with brake cleaner. Moment of truth. Let's see if these valves work. Uh-oh, that one was stuck. So I was moving these valves a little bit, but they haven't been fully open. That's why some of them are popping like you heard there. So we might hear a few more pops, but what we want to make sure is that they're all freely cycling and nothing's bending or catching. Everything is looking really good. They're all definitely cycling. What I'm going to do now is kind of just feel the push rods when both valves are closed to make sure we don't have anything really tight. And then we'll probably call it good. That one might be a little bit loose, but we're gonna leave it there. I'd rather have them a little loose than too tight. I feel really good about this side. Hopefully the other side goes just as good. Another thing about this Y block, you notice all these push rods are solid. The valve train oils through this hole right here. I was showing Jack that yesterday. And then it returns through some little tubes. I think we're ready on this side. I got all the push rods in the lifters. Yeah, that's your little return oil tube there. Get this one set in there. And these long studs on your front and back are what holds your valve cover down. This is the one we had a stuck valve on. I can't remember, I think it was this one. Let's see what it does. There it goes. Same thing on this side, just make sure we don't have any that are really tight. Went ahead and threw the valve covers back on there. Jack cleaned all the gunk off of them, but they don't look great. I need to find some of this Ford orange. I'd like to get them repainted the next time we have them off. Smoke check. Uh-oh, not long enough because our battery's backwards. Slide that over. Watch for smoke, buddy.
Okay. Let's hope it doesn't smoke. That's what we want to.
Nah, I might have to get a wrench and tighten that up, but looks good so far. Round 2 smoke check. Got our negative clamp down. No fires yet. Now I was gonna rig up our starter trigger out here, but for once, we actually have ignition keys. So I think I'll try to bump the starter from in here.
Where'd the back seats go to this car, Dada?
They're by the boat. All right, generator light works.
I'll go.
Ah, no starter.
We'll have to work on that.
Our positive cable's seen better days. I need to put a new end on it, but for now I just clamped it. Hey, it works.
The key works.
Yeah.
Our first car that comes with the key that works. Your ratchet was still on.
Oh,
Oh no.
I still had a ratchet on the crank. It ejected. All right, we went ahead and rigged our starter trigger up so we could be up here and see what's going on. I'm gonna let AJ run the trigger, and we're gonna do a compression test.
Yep.
And by compression test, I mean I'm gonna put my thumb over the spark plug hole. Let's see if it'll blow it out. We'll start on this side. Make sure we're pushing air.
Okay.
Are you ready? When I say stop, you gotta stop.
Okay.
Let her rip. Oh, it blew it off. All right, that one's good. Let her rip. Okay. We are pushing air. Hit it. Oh, 3 out of 4. Last one. Hey, hang on.
Okay. Is your finger on it?
Yeah. Go. Go now. There it goes. All of those are pushing air.
Yeah.
What do we got on this side? Let her rip. Oh, man, we got lots of compression there. 2, 3, 4. It's gonna run, AJ. This thing is gonna run. Let's get some plugs in it, check our points,
Yeah.
get some gas.
The gas is important.
It is very important. What are the odds that it runs?
I think 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 it's gonna run?
Yeah.
I like your confidence.
Because if it's blowing air, that's really good.
Yeah. Now that all that's done, I'm gonna get these new plugs gapped and installed and see if we can get our ignition working. I know we're gonna have a few wiring issues because I'm looking at the coil right here and mice have chewed the wires completely off the coil, so we don't have ignition on going to the coil, and we don't have anything going from the coil to the distributor, so we're gonna have to build some wires, build some jumper wires, do something to get the ignition firing. I also don't have any new plug wires. Nobody was able to get them in time, so hopefully these old ones are good enough we can make them do something. Plugs are in, wires are on, and I noticed something really cool on these plug wires. They're actually Ford plug wires. They have a little Ford script on them, but that's a Ford logo right there. I guess those could be the factory plug wires. I wish they were in better shape, but the boots on the ends of them on the 90s at the plugs are pretty bad. We should be ready to almost do a test fire if these wires were intact. I was able to tie back onto this. Got a little uninsulated butt connector there. I'm gonna throw some heat shrink on. That looks pretty factory right there. Now our ignition on was also chewed, but I'll just run a jumper to that for now. We'll sort through the factory wiring when we get there. While we're in here, oh, see all that white crusty stuff coming out of there? All right, looks like they are opening and closing. Got them somewhat clean. Let's put power to it, see what happens. Oh yeah. Contact We are ready. It is time to see if it will make some noise. Now, this car has not ran in my lifetime. It has been sitting since 1981, and if we can make it fire up right now, that will be huge. If we're successful, this is gonna be a big one. Give her a little fuel. There may still be hope. We don't have fire. Well, I'm not super optimistic about it, but I'm gonna swap the points out. I have a new set, new as in I found them in an old pickup. They're really old, but they've never been used. The ones I pulled out of there, the pad is almost gone on that side. Probably not the issue, but it's the only parts I have tonight, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. Well, I guess we're back for day 3 on the Starliner, and it is actually the next weekend, which I hate doing. I hate dragging a video out over 2 weekends, but I just couldn't leave it without it either running or having a game plan of what we're gonna do moving forward. I spent this week troubleshooting. I did a few things in the evenings. It has not ran yet, but I think I have a pretty good idea what's going on. So let's dig into it. I'll get you guys caught up on where we're at. Well, the first thing, look at these nice new labeled plug wires. This was a kit that I bought for a Y block, and they are really nice. Cool thing about a Y block is the wires run behind the block and up under the manifolds. As you can see, the old wires are still here in the holders. I've got these draped over here just temporarily. If we can get it running, I'll pull it all back off there, power wash the engine, and run these through the factory looms. Next thing, we've got new points and condenser, cap and rotor. I've got this known good coil just sitting here. I've been trying to fire it on that. I don't think this coil's bad, but for now, we're just gonna try to get it lit off on that one because I know it's good. Now, one of the things we're fighting on it not wanting to run is low compression. Now, remember this engine was locked up, so we could have a damaged piston ring or a stuck piston ring or several stuck piston rings, and we probably have a little bit of valve issues, carboned up. So I ran a compression test yesterday, and here's what I found. Cylinder 1 was at 47 pounds. That's the first one I did, and I went into a little bit of a panic mode. Number 2's only 59, 3, 76, 4, 70. You can probably make 3 and 4 fire at 70 and 76. That's pretty low, but I think you could make it work. 5, 70, 6, 84, 7, 111, and 8, 112. So these two are really good. These two you could probably get to fire. Now, I did do some research this week on getting engines to fire up that have low compression, and I found a lot of the tractor forums, farm guys getting their tractors to run with low compression, and there was some really good advice. One of the things that everybody was saying was to pull start it. Now, the thought behind that, I think you can get this engine spinning a little faster pull starting it than what the starter motor will do, and build some heat in it. And while you build heat in that engine, your clearances are going to tighten up, and if we are fighting a ring issue, that would help it. I don't know that we're gonna do that. It's not my favorite idea because we probably don't have great brakes, but if it comes down to that, we will give it a shot. Another thing they said we could do was squirt some oil in our low cylinders. So we could take just our little oil can here. We know 1 and 2 are low for sure. 4 and 5 are pretty low too, so we might give them a little bit of oil. In fact, I think we definitely will, at least 1 and 2, squirt some oil in there, then get the plugs back in it. I'm gonna put a little on number 5 on this side, but the rest of them are pretty good. Now, I like this idea. It for sure will bring the compression up a little bit, but something else it could do is foul your spark plug. It could get on your spark plug and then kind of defeat the purpose of the extra compression. So there's probably a fine line between how much you should put in there and what's too much. I don't know where that line is, but we're gonna start with, I don't know, 3 or 4 squirts in each hole. I'll probably put a little more in 1 and 2. I'm gonna go 5 in number 1 and 2. All right, let's see what it does. Come on, baby. thing's been kicking my butt. Oh, look at all the crap it blew out of the exhaust. She didn't sound great, but she ran. I don't know how long that was. You seen all the smoke coming out of the top end. We were coming out of the breather. Remember, I soaked this thing in several quarts of transmission fluid and a whole can of oil. So it will take us a while to burn off all that oil from everywhere it's not supposed to be. It was rattling a little bit, especially on this passenger side. I have not changed the oil yet. It is full of oil, but I didn't want to put 5-6 quarts of new oil, or however much this holds. It may only hold 4. I didn't want to put a bunch of new oil in it just to drain it back out if we had to completely disassemble it. The oil in it doesn't look terrible. I'm going to try to run it at least one more time, so I'm confident that we got a runner, and then we will think about maybe doing an oil change on it. Man, we smoked this place out, and look at the mess it made. We've got sunflower seeds, dirt, rust, acorns, all kinds of stuff. I'm super excited for this one. I'm very confident we'll be driving it probably in the next video. I just need to collect some parts. For sure, carburetor kit. We're leaking a ton of fuel out of our carburetor, but that's gonna be it for today because there's a couple young men out there hot lapping a Volkswagen, and I'm gonna go join them. We'll see you guys next time.